Okay, let's start from the beginning, and let's assume that you've installed Python from python.org, wherever you've got it from. The journey starts really with most programmers when they write the words "Hello World" to the screen. And that's what we're going to do first of all today. But we're also going to learn a bit about mathematical expressions and BODMAS or BIDMAS. Right, well done for not being a noob. Right, you're about to do something which the vast majority of the global population will never do or never understand. You'll be able to sit at a blank white screen, typing in your program code and make things, create things from the beginning. You won't just be a user of the technology, you'll be a maker of the technology. Now, very few people are going to do that, so the payoff is good. You probably get a job, and a well-paid job, because not many people stick with this. And it is crucial in today's society that we have coders, lots of coders, so it is definitely a very good skill to learn. So well done for actually starting on this journey. Now, we're going to use the Python editor, IDLE, or idle, and we're going to use the interactive Python shell, and it's going to be interpreted, which basically means that as you type the line of code, it's going to then run it. And we'll also later on use something called scripts, where you can type a whole lot of program lines of code in and then run it, and it'll do them all one by one. Quick thing about interpreters. This language Python is interpreted, so it does it line by line as it executes it on the computer. There are other programming languages where it will take all the lines of code at once, turn it into something called machine code by compiling it and then run it. So that means it is a bit of a loose language in the fact that you can have something that's stored 1 minute as words or text or strings, and the next minute it can be a number. Whereas most languages wouldn't let you do that. They only allow you to have a string as a string, and then later on if you want to turn it into a number, you have to use a different way of doing it. But keep it nice and simple today. What we're going to do is we're going to start you on your first rite of passage. So you're going to write "Hello World" to the screen. You're going to go into IDLE. You're going to type the words "print hello world," and then you're going to run it, and it should print it to the screen. Something like that. Alright, let's do that right now. So here we are in the editor. Now, programming languages can be very unforgiving. So when we do print, it's not capital P print. It doesn't know what that is. It's lowercase print. And don't misspell it. To it pint, it doesn't understand what that is. So it's print all lowercase, then some brackets or parentheses. And in here, whatever you put in those brackets, it's going to print. So we're going to use strings or a number of characters, and to do that we use speech marks or double quotes, or we could use single quotes. And we're going to do that. Now whatever we put in between the two double quotes is what it's going to print exactly as we write it on the screen. So we say "Hello World." It's going to print that exactly. Now if I used a few spaces, it would put all those spaces in there as well. Okay, so print "Hello World," hit return. There you go. It prints it to the screen. And that's it. It's that simple, but have a go yourself. Try writing your own message to the screen. Try and put your own words on there. Use several print statements and see what goes on. So let's explain what you just did there. So the print is a function using brackets, and whatever you do, whatever you put in those brackets is going to output to the screen. So it evaluates whatever's in there. So those can be strings, like a whole list of characters from the keyboards, or it could be a mathematical expression. And think about a mathematical expression as being exactly something you do in maths. Right, the shell, or the interpreter, is just printing that string of characters as long as it's enclosed in the speech marks. And a function is just a ready-made piece of code that you use to print to the screen. And we've got loads more. There's loads more functions that you're going to learn, but print is the one that we're going to do today. Now let's think about using maths here. Let's think about using Python as a calculator. So have a look down there on these commands here. We've got a few here which are very similar to what you might have used in mathematics. So plus, as you can imagine, is addition. For example, 4 plus 5 is going to give you 9. And same with subtraction. 8 minus 5 is going to give you 3. It's my mad math skills here. Multiplication is a star, okay, not an X. Computers are stupid, right? So if you use X, it's going to think it's the character X. Whereas if you use star is not used that often, so that's why it'll use it as multiplication. 4 times 5, 20. That's how you do each of these. Forward slash is division, okay? So division is dividing it, and now that will give you a fractional part. So if you have 19 divided by 3, you'll get 6.333. You won't get 6 remainder 1, you'll get 6.333. Now, if you want the remainder, though, you use the percentage, okay? It's known as modulus division. And should you do that, for example, 19 percentage 3, well, you will get the remainder of 1. So 19 divided by 3 is 6, remainder 1, so that's why you get the 1 that comes out. You also have to the power of, or exponent, And that is where, for example, you have 2 to the power of 4, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which would be 16. And double forward slash is whole number division. So that's almost like the opposite of remainder, where you don't care about the fractional part. Okay, so if you have 7 double forward slash 2, that is 3 remainder 1. It won't care about the remainder. It will just give you the 3. So these expressions, you have a value and then an operator and then a value. And here's a few examples here. So that's what you're really going to do next, really, once we talk a little bit about BODMAS or BIDMAS, is that you're going to type these in the interpreter, just literally the literal, the operator, and the literal, or sometimes you might write several operators and literals, which you'll see when we give you the exercise to do. Write them in one by one, and you should get the maths that comes out at the end. That's one thing to remember here, is that if you get good at programming, you don't have to do the maths. You set up the formulas, you set up the calculations, and the computer does it all for you. Right, so quick word about BODMAS or BIDMAS is the order of doing things. For example, here we've got 7 plus 6 times 5 to the power of 2 plus 3. There's some brackets there, and you always do the brackets first, okay? Now, within the brackets, we've got a power of here. So we've got 5 to the power of 2, so that's 25. Then we've got no division going on there, but we do have multiplication. So then do the 6 times 25, and we're still in the brackets, so the thing that was left now is the addition. And that's now done everything within the brackets, and now we come outside the brackets and do the final part of it, which is doing the 7 plus 153, and that's where we get 160. So if you did all that, you'd get that in Python. So remember about that, BODMAS or BIDMAS. One of the most common problems with something we call a logical error is messing up your order of doing things and not realizing you should have put brackets at some point in your calculation. So it's over to you now, so we want you to write these 10 little calculations into the Python shell, one after the other. Now I've gone in the example here and put it in a print statement. Reason being is if you're using it as a program, if you just did 2 plus 2, nothing's going to come out. But if you use the shell here and just write 2 plus 2, it will come out. So it's optional here. You can either put it in a print statement, which is print, lowercase, and then some brackets, and then within the brackets, the bit of calculation that you want to do, or you can just write the calculation yourself out as 2 plus 2. When I go and show you the examples here, I'm going to use the print statement because I want to get used to using output and the print statement when we want to do maths. Okay, so off you go, have a go at that, and then I'll show you the answers in a second. Just pause the video. So here we go, here's the answers to that as we type them in. Again, you could have just typed in 50 minus 5 star 6 to get that answer. Trickiest one there is probably the second one there, where we had the print statement in brackets, and then within there we also had some brackets. So there was a double bracket at the beginning, then the expression closing that bracket here, and then the rest of the calculation. But the rest of it, hopefully, you found reasonably easy. So let's summarize. What did we do here? Well, first of all, we used idle, the place where we actually write our programs. Then we use the shell in idle, where it just interprets the lines, each line by line as we go. We used output to put some text to the screen using the print function. And we used some maths and the arithmetic operators. And finally, we remind ourselves of BIDMAS, BODMAS, the order of doing things. So have a go at those, see how you get on, and you know how to message me if you've got problems with those. Cheers.